Hello, welcome to our channel. If you like this video or this channel, please remember to subscribe our channel and like the videos. What are the pros and cons of taking Cantonese classes in Hong Kong? Anyone interested in learning Cantonese should consider traveling all the way to Hong Kong. This is because you will get the ideal Cantonese learning experience while in Hong Kong. Even if visiting Hong Kong is not the only way for a person to learn Cantonese, there are various advantages to doing so. The topic of this post is whether Hong Kong is a suitable location to learn Cantonese. We're going to give you a surprise. We feel that Hong Kong is an excellent location to study Cantonese, and we'll explain why. First, consider the language landscape of Hong Kong. Languages in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, you can hear different languages: Cantonese, Mandarin, English, Tagalog, Indonesian, Hakka, and a variety of European languages here in Hong Kong. Cantonese is the most frequently spoken language in the city, and Cantonese is spoken by 92% of Hong Kong's population. It is because most Hong Kong residents originate from the Guangdong area. English is the second most common language, with 4.3% of native English speakers and 48.9% speaking it as a second language. Although just 1.9% of Chinese speakers are native Mandarin speakers, the language is the most frequently spoken after English. Technically, anybody who knows English can move about the city without difficulty. After a decade of living in Hong Kong, many expats feel they do not need to learn the language. Tourists that speak English will have little trouble traveling about the city. In this case, studying Cantonese or Mandarin is motivated only by curiosity or personal interests. Understanding the culture. And although Mandarin is widely spoken in China, many other languages are just as important to know. Mandarin is a kind of Chinese dialect used widely in many regions of China, especially in Hong Kong and Macau. Of course, everyone would think of their reasons by the time they developed an interest in learning Mandarin. MLLRN, some people study Cantonese to understand Chinese culture better. In contrast, others do so to have a more enriching travel experience in Hong Kong or Macau. To learn Mandarin Chinese quickly and efficiently, you should study with a qualified Chinese tutor. You can learn Mandarin Chinese far more quickly with the assistance of a professional teacher than if you try to teach yourself the language independently. How important is Cantonese? Outside of Mandarin, Cantonese is one of the most common Chinese dialects. Not only is Mandarin the official language in China, but it is also very common language in Chinese immigrants from other countries. Many foreigners attempting to break into the Chinese market have found that fluency in the Chinese language is a crucial asset. Knowing Mandarin will give you a leg up in the business world of South Asia and East China, where it is the mother tongue of corporate executives. Now that China's first markets are accessible to the rest of the world, you should start learning Mandarin Chinese as soon as possible, if not before deciding on your optimal business tactics. The opening of China's markets is a fantastic chance to grow your company there. An exciting trend is that demand for Mandarin courses shows no sign of abating. You should be able to find many individuals and companies devoted to assisting non-native speakers of Mandarin Chinese. Cantonese grammar is easy. Mandarin Chinese is one of the more straightforward Chinese dialects in terms of grammar. When studying Mandarin Chinese, your tutor won't focus on verb conjugations. You won't have to bother with the suffixes and prefixes of this Chinese dialect. Like any other language, Mandarin Chinese requires you to collect a large vocabulary to communicate effectively. You may do this by learning the root words and their many combinations. Mandarin is the official language of Hong Kong, Macau, Guangdong province. Even though Mandarin is gaining prominence in the Hong Kong education system, Cantonese is still the most commonly spoken language. However, in mainland China, Mandarin is seldom used in the educational system. Most Guangdong and Guangxi natives are bilingual. Tones in Cantonese. If you thought Sanskrit already had too many tones, you're in for a rude awakening. The language ranges from 6 to 9 tones, depending on the Mandarin you study. Though Mandarin Chinese isn't seen as a language of the future as Mandarin Chinese is, it is nevertheless a primary language in major international financial hubs like Hong Kong. Although Mandarin and Cantonese have roots in China, they have several key distinctions. Suppose a Mandarin and Cantonese speaker were riding the subway together. In that case, the Mandarin speaker could read the newspaper aloud to the Cantonese passenger. In contrast, the Cantonese passenger would understand every word. However, if they were to read the newspaper separately, they'd both understand it just fine. While this may be true up to a point, a Mandarin speaker is very unlikely to understand Cantonese Chinese newspaper. It is because standard Mandarin Chinese characters is different from common Mandarin. For instance, in Mandarin, one would write to express the verb to eat, but in Cantonese, one would use the word, which would mean FD/ML in Mandarin. Here's a field where native Mandarin speakers have an advantage. They likely read and write in addition to understanding both styles of written Mandarin. On the other hand, native speakers of the Sanskrit language would be able to read the characters, but would have a confused grasp of the text. How to choose? Mandarin or Cantonese? Nearly everyone in today's society promotes learning Mandarin Chinese. Opportunities for Mandarin speakers are expanding as China's economy develops rapidly. You should not, however, skip over learning Mandarin Chinese. Mandarin Chinese is more difficult to understand than Mandarin Japanese. Still, it's worth it since it's rich in history and has a lot of wow factors. What matters most is your personal goals. Learning Mandarin Chinese is an obvious option if you want to improve your employment chances and work in mainland China or Taiwan. Suppose you're looking for opportunities in the song and dance genre, or you're a movie buff who enjoys musicals. In that case, Mandarin Chinese is the language for you. WH-TUD-NTNS. Cantonese is one of China's most widely spoken dialects and is almost as widespread as Mandarin among Chinese communities outside of China. Mandarin Chinese is the language of the wealthy and the mother tongue of business leaders across South Asia. These are crucial commercial zones as China's first markets open to the West. Despite the tiny number of native Chinese speakers, there is significant demand and market for speakers of this language. A growing percentage of the Chinese population is active online. Mandarin Chinese grammar is surprisingly straightforward in many ways. There is no need to learn conjugations for verbs and no preferences or necessities to be concerned with. On the other hand, many root words help learn new vocabulary since they may be combined with other roots. Conclusion: given that it is the world's most spoken language, Mandarin is most likely the best Chinese to study for most language learners. However, those who want to work or study in Cantonese-speaking regions may be better if they study Cantonese other than Mandarin. Cantonese is an exciting and relatively straightforward option to continue your Chinese language learning journey for people who can speak or have previously acquired Mandarin.